From the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Dolphin Ortwood with your farm news, weather, and markets here on Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us. A balmy 12 degrees right outside of the studio this morning. I'll take that, especially after the last few days of cold. We'll check in on the weather here in just a bit, but first, some news. Pretty dramatic pictures making their rounds after a massive grain bin collapse south of Toledo earlier this week. The Andersons reported a 1 million bushel capacity grain bin of theirs collapsed just after 9 o'clock Tuesday night. Thankfully, nobody injured in the ordeal. The Andersons said in a statement that the cause of the bin failure has not yet been established, and an investigation is underway. The company has closed their Toledo Kuhlman facility for deliveries until further notice. Elsewhere, the DTN Retail Fertilizer Trend Tracker says most average retail fertilizer prices higher than last month in the second week of January, but none significantly, which is 5% or more. But still, the 7 fertilizers that were up: DAP, Potash, Urea, 1034-0, Anhydrous, UAN 28 and 32. One slightly less expensive than a month ago, MAP, and we are seeing nitrogen prices higher as we start the new year. Several reasons why: Chinese exports still largely non-existent, and also Iranian nitrogen production is currently offline. That represents 10% of global exports. And it is Thursday. That means it's time to check in with our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and your checkoff dollars at work. Over to our own Dusty Sonnenberg.
I'm joined today by Dr. Horacio Lopez-Nicora, OSU Extension soybean pathologist and nematologist, talking about what we saw this past growing season with soybean vein necrosis virus and the infection caused by thrips and management considerations as we go into 2025.
And then the question always is, well, what should I do? What should I do for management and in future season? Well, monitor activity of these thrips will be one. I mean, if we chemically want to manage this disease, controlling the vector is the number one thing when we're dealing with viruses. An insecticide spray will take care of this. Resistance cultivar will be my number one go-to. And then purchasing high quality, clean, virus-free seed will also be a good strategy.
Again, those are the comments of Dr. Horacio Lopez-Nicora, OSU Extension soybean pathologist and nematologist. Today's soybean research update brought to us by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff.
Thanks, Dusty. And online today at ohioagnet.com. Some impressive corn yields from the Buckeye State in the National Corn Growers 2024 Yield Contest. From Ohio, Kent Edwards of Castalia in Erie County topped the entries from our state with an impressive 344.82 bushel entry with the Pioneer brand in the conventional non-irrigated category. Also in that category, Blake Sims from Marion had a 326.5 bushel average with AgriGold, and Kyle Croft from Coshocton clocked in at 323.55 with a DeKalb field. Couple more results. No-till non-irrigated division. Jim Douch from Bellevue had a 323.79 bushel field. Brett Davis from South Vienna, 296.31 bushels. And Steve and Tim Reinhardt from Bucyrus had a 291.35 bushel entry in the contest. Now, I'm just scratching the surface of those results. The full list online at ohioagnet.com. How Ohio fared in the National Corn Growers Association 2024 Yield Contest. Time to check in on the weather with the latest update thanks to Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Over to Ryan.
Not much happening in the old weather forecast this morning. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. Yeah, we've got some clouds around today. Minor disturbance trying to come out of the Great Lakes and move eastward. Michigan took the brunt of this system with clouds and light snow and flurries. I won't rule out a flurry or two over Ohio today, but I don't think precipitation is our number one issue. Clouds will be, and even in the cloud space, not everybody sees a thick deck all day long. I do think that we see the clouds break up overnight, and we end up with a partly to mostly sunny Friday. It is chilly for sure, but not as cold as the deep freeze we had earlier in the week. Going into the weekend, still looking at good sunshine for both Saturday and Sunday as high pressure sits over the top of us. Cool temperatures will end up being close to normal for January. Moving through next week, Monday and Tuesday are partly sunny and slightly warmer. See a big mild surge for Wednesday the 29th. It comes ahead of a significant rainmaker that passes by mostly to our south. However, I will point out that this rainmaker has made it a little farther north every day and data should suggest maybe a little bit of rain trying to come into at least southern Ohio by the time we get to next Tuesday, Wednesday, early Thursday. I'm looking at a Wednesday, Thursday event, so watch for that and see if this thing comes any farther north. Behind it, it draws down cold air to finish next week, Thursday afternoon through Friday, before a significant mild surge to start the month of February. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Stay tuned as we'll continue on with the Ohio AgNet. Up next, more farm news and a check of markets. All that and more. Stay tuned. Hey, pork producers, it's almost time for the 2025 Ohio Pork Congress, your connection to all things pork. It's back in Lima, Ohio on February 4th and 5th with the latest on swine health, facility management, economics, and product innovation, all within the largest pork industry trade show in the region. So make plans now to join us at Veterans Memorial Convention Center by going to ohioporkcongress.org for more information and early registration discounts on tickets. We'll see you in Lima. You're listening to the Ohio AgNet. Hey, don't forget to tune in to our midday show tomorrow. That's our next monthly check-in with the Farm Credit Mid-America folks. Our own Dale Minio will be there on location. Again, midday show tomorrow, Friday. In national news, Brooke Rollins, nominee for Secretary of Agriculture, has her Senate confirmation hearing later this morning. That's at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. President Donald Trump's pick for Ag Secretary is an attorney and founder of the America First Policy Institute, also a close advisor to Trump and a native of Glen Rose, Texas, has her degree from Texas A&M. In her prepared remarks, Rollins outlining key priorities, delivering economic and disaster aid quickly to farmers, tackling disease outbreaks like avian flu and screwworm, crafting a new farm bill, and revitalizing the USDA. She says she acknowledges the tough challenges ahead, calling this one of the most economically challenging times in American agriculture. Rollins has garnered support from about 420 farm groups and businesses, emphasizing her experience and close ties to the president. But of course, not without some critics, some questioning her foreign policy background and stance on climate change. The hearing begins again at 10 a.m. Eastern Time here on Thursday. If confirmed, she'll lead a USDA of over 100,000 employees and oversee critical programs ranging from food safety to rural development and much, much more. Cargill has agreed to a $32.5 million settlement in a class action lawsuit that alleges the company conspired with others to artificially inflate turkey prices. The settlement, filed in the Northern Illinois U.S. District Court, awaits court approval. It originally was filed in 2019 and accuses Cargill, Tyson Foods, Butterball, and Purdue Farms of colluding to reduce the turkey supply in the United States, intentionally driving up costs for consumers and grocery stores. According to the claims, the alleged scheme spanned years, leading to higher prices for deli meat and other turkey products, ultimately costing consumers millions of dollars. There's a set of upcoming cattle reports coming out that could be of importance to farmers and consumers alike. U.S. cattle farmers and ranchers have seen higher prices for their livestock lately, of course, and that does translate to increased costs for the consumer. As a result, Barrett Nelson, an economist with American Farm Bureau, says several upcoming reports will tell us if that trend will continue into this year.
What this all comes down to is we got three big reports on the horizon. We've got cattle on feed coming in, we've got the annual cattle inventory, and we also have another demand piece of the equation that comes in with cold storage.
Nelson says consumers feeling a lot of exhaustion from inflation, and unfortunately, there may not be relief in store anytime soon.
If we take a look at where inflation rates are currently, they're much lower than they've been over the past couple of years, but even so, this is a rate of growth we're talking about. So we're still seeing some decent inflation of increase in prices at the grocery store for some of our food products. If we look at beef and veal, for example, we're up about 5.4%.
As a result, all eyes on that cattle inventory report at the end of this month.
If we take a look at where inflation rates are currently, they're much lower than they've been over the past couple of years, but even so, this is a rate of growth we're talking about. So we're still seeing some decent inflation of increase in prices at the grocery store for some of our food products. If we look at beef and veal, for example, we're up about 5.4%.
Barrett Nelson with the American Farm Bureau joining us. Egg production is down. December's egg production numbers in the United States totaled 9.12 billion. That's off 3% from that of the year before. Production included 7.83 billion table eggs and 1.29 billion hatching eggs, of which 1.9 billion were broiler type and 95.9 million were egg type. The total number of layers during December averaged 373 million, down 3% from 2023. December egg production per 100 layers was 1% lower than that of the year before, with all layers on January 1 of 2025 totaling 369 million, a drop of 2% from last year. And speaking of birds, a positive test for highly pathogenic avian influenza has been found near Fort Wayne in Allen County, Indiana, on a commercial poultry farm not far from the Ohio border. According, the Indiana State Board of Animal Health says the farm produces eggs and has a flock size of more than 26,000 birds, which all have been quarantined. That would be the fourth outbreak of HPAI on a commercial poultry farm in Indiana since January 3rd, and back on December 27th, a million-bird facility over in western Ohio tested positive for bird flu. Keep in mind, though, avian influenza does not present a food safety risk, and cooked poultry and eggs, as well as pasteurized dairy products, remain safe to eat. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Ohio AgNet with a look at markets.
Morton Buildings is holding their annual Building Value Day sales event running now through the end of February. Morton Buildings are built stronger, last longer, and look better. So if you're planning for a garage, farm shop, stall barn, a storage building for your RV, boat, or collectibles, or anything in between, act now and contact one of their 4 Ohio offices by visiting mortonbuildings.com or call 800-447-7436 to take advantage of their current savings on select new buildings. Certain restrictions may apply. This offer is available on select building styles. Contact your local construction center for more details.
Today's market analysis brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Ryan Martin has the story.
Grain markets reversed hard as we moved through the daytime session on Wednesday. Now we all question what happens for Thursday. What happened yesterday? Let's get into that a little bit. Early day speculative rally gave way to a reversal on other kind of stories that hit the space. Ethanol and biodiesel margins have turned deeply red now. That's probably one of the biggest issues out there. Hedge-related selling in soybeans and spread pulled values lower mid-morning to midday yesterday. Soybean harvest in Mato Grosso and Goiás gained speed because the rains that were forecasted in that area didn't materialize, and it was game on. As we take a look at other stories, President Trump threatened Russia with additional sanctions and new tariffs on any Russian goods sold into the U.S. Russia's good exports have been declining into the U.S., just $3 billion of net import value estimated for 2024. The U.S. amount of Russian goods imports is modest compared to nearly $400 billion worth that Russia exported in 2024. All eyes are focused on Russia, how they will respond. We had a cash-connected rumor from Australia that China is washing out of wheat cargoes that they purchased last October. Rumors have China wanting to resell 7 to 9 cargoes of Australian wheat back into the Southeast Asian cash market. Buyers will accept losses as world wheat prices have sagged dramatically. Brokers estimate that managed money has bought 2,300 contracts of wheat yesterday, only 1,400 of corn, 3,800 of soy meal, selling 4,700 contracts of soy oil and 3,900 contracts of soy beans in general. That was on the buying side probably before the market turned south midday. Chart also is reflecting massive Board of Trade corn open interest jumps in the past 3 weeks. Why managed money funds love corn is beyond fundamental explanation, but we are seeing a large net long position in corn, which could change on a dime and make the market get even more interesting. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Let's turn our eyes now to what market numbers are shaping up overnight to be. March corn checking in right now, 1.5 cents lower to 4.82 3/4, with December corn at last check unchanged for the new crop at 4.59.5 per bushel. March soybeans down 2 3/4 to 10.53 1/4, with the new crop 10.47, up 1/4 penny overnight. July wheat down 2 cents to 5.76 1/4. More near-term, March wheat 5.52.5, down 1.5 cents. Markets brought to you by Seed Consultants, simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. Cattle had a great day at the Merc as we look back to Wednesday's close. February live cattle $3 upward to $200 and a nickel per hundredweight, with feeder cattle for March gained $5.83 to a price of $273.08. February lean hogs 28 cents up to 81.48, with April contracts at 58 cents higher to 87.28, and a milk class 3 for February seeing a price of 18.97, really staying put at the moment. More farm news and markets and much more online at ohioagnet.com. I'm Joel Norwood. Thank you for tuning in to the Ohio Ag Net. Have a great Thursday.